Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in a prior video, we took a look at the ThruNite Catapult Mini, which was absolutely incredible. The overall power and punch for its given size, absolutely fantastic. But today we're going to look at a larger version of the Catapult with the Catapult Pro. If you look here, this gigantic head on a reasonably sized flashlight, I think this is absolutely going to be a stellar performer. This should have a nice quality concentrated beam capable of punching far off into the distance. Now in this particular case, it's not all about the lumens, it's about the candela. So this should be a real interesting flashlight if you're looking for a searchlight, a spotlight, something that's going to really have a good long quality throw and some punch at distance. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take a look at this real quick. We'll go through some of the features. Then we're going to go out. We're going to get some awesome beam shots. I'm hoping we're going to get to learn about this together. I think it's going to be really fun. And then we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now, before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at ThruNite who did provide this for review. And so the first thing, as we get into this, of course you can see I have removed the flashlight. This comes with the typical ThruNite box, typical ThruNite paperwork, so you get your little user's manual. And it also comes with just a couple other little items, like for example, your USB Type-C charging cable. It comes with a lanyard and it comes with your spare compartment covers. Now remember, I said candela, not necessarily the lumens. First thing you're going to see, this comes with a nice whopping 26,650 battery. So this is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 3.7 volt. Again, a 26,650 rechargeable battery. USB rechargeable. This is going to be what powers this. Now, when I say candela, when you look at the actual lumen output, maximum lumens here is only 2,700, which these days is not that crazy of a number. But when you look at candela, 252,000 candela. Usually when you get above 30,000, it starts to get pretty cool. But here, 252,000 candela. Again, it's not all about the lumens, it's about the candela. Again, the concentrated light, the punch at distance, how far the beam can go. And as we look even furthermore, this says that, well, I should have about 1,000 meters of usable throw. 1,000 meters, like 3,000 feet, like 3/5 of a mile. That's significant. That's a good quality beam. So there aren't a ton of places I can go to really demonstrate this to you, but I'm definitely going to try and we'll see what we can do. And so as we go through the features, pretty straightforward. Now again, the ThruNite Catapult Pro, made of a nice machined aluminum, little bit of knurling, and some different areas to help dissipate the heat. Now, it will be interesting to see how much this heats up. Because it doesn't have a huge lumen output, I wouldn't think this is going to heat up a ton, but I guess time will tell. You'll notice this does have a lanyard hole on the back cap. You could theoretically tail stand this if you want, but the lens, look at that lens, just a nice deep, perfectly polished reflector, concentrating that beam down with that nice LED on the inside. Pretty standard button, so a side switch on this. This is, again, pretty standard for ThruNite these days. That's about how most of their flashlights come from what I've really seen in their most recent iterations. So very easy to get on, and it has a little bit of a tactile feel. You might struggle a little bit to find that if it's completely dark. I find sometimes I do struggle just a little bit to find the buttons, but not a big deal. When you get into the actual modes, I love how ThruNite's been doing it. So basically a long press is going to get you into that firefly mode. A single press is going to turn the light on, and in this particular case, a long press is going to do a ramp cycle. So you can see here all the way down, and it flashes. That's going to be the lowest, and then a long press ramp. Well, here you can see going all the way up, and I can feel the heat, and it'll blink again. So that's the highest mode in sort of that regular ramp mode. And then a double press here, that's going to be turbo. Triple press, that's going to be your tactical strobe. And I love the programming, because what that means is, let's just say I single press. Well, for me, I'll probably run this somewhere in the middle, and that's going to be my general navigation, and that becomes set it and forget it. And now I get a long press to that firefly mode. I get a single press to my general searching and navigation, and then I get a double press to that turbo. And then when needed, the triple press. I love the fact that the specialty mode is not built into the rest of the programming. ThruNite does their programming very well, amongst the best in my opinion. Now, just to add a little more detail, again, when you single press and you long press, it will go up and down. And when you have it going down all the way to the bottom, well, now that it flashes, that is the lowest mode in the ramp, which is 42 lumens. This will run for about 53 hours. A long press again goes all the way up in the ramp. That's going to be about 1482 lumens. That will run for about 24 minutes. Then it'll dim down to 909 lumens for about 120 minutes. Again, that long press into firefly mode, that's 0.7 lumens, which will go for around 42 days. Double press into turbo, 2,713 lumens. That will run for about 9 minutes and then dim down to 961 lumens for around 90 minutes. And I can definitely start to feel this heating up. So I know that turbo mode is going to create some heat. I can feel it through this sort of collar area. I can definitely feel the heat coming off the reflector on my hand. So this will be interesting to see how it goes. Now, you're not going to be able to see it too well, but there is a battery indicator here. And when you plug this in, it will be red if it needs to charge, and then it will go to blue when it's fully charged and ready to go. One last little detail, this also does come with a carrying pouch. Now, I do think that this is going to be a very useful pouch for a flashlight of this size. You'll notice this kind of cones out on the top, and this is going to be instrumental in my ability to actually effectively carry this. So I will belt mount this for sure, and that fits in there nicely. So a good effective package overall, very simple, and just a simple, easy design from ThruNite. Little bit of a D-ring on the top. Again, your belt lashing point there. Very simple. So I'm going to get this mounted onto my belt. Let's bring this outside and see if we can get some useful beam shots. And so now out here, as we get into this Catapult Pro, here you're going to see the lights are going down, the forest behind me getting nice and dark, and this is absolutely going to perform. So first thing, as I long press here, you can see this is that firefly mode, so 0.7 lumens. This is going to just give me enough light to read as I'm out here, but this is not going to be necessarily for navigation. However, I do think I could probably use this mode. Let's give it a try. Now, typically 0.7 lumens is not enough light to be able to get yourself around. However, because this is so concentrated, it does give you a little bit of light for general navigation. Now, you're going to need to move slow. You're not going to be able to go too fast. However, this can do it, and you're going to have a hard time seeing it, but there is some spill off to the side. So it's not just a centralized hotspot, but you do get some spill, which is nice. And as we turn the corner here and getting into some of the deeper woods, getting a little bit darker, you can see even at 0.7 lumens, this does beam into the trees. And this is what I'm saying about candela. It's not all about the lumens. A different flashlight at 0.7 lumens, you would not be able to see that. But here at 0.7 lumens, it is illuminating on the tree. And that is the interesting thing about the Catapult Pro. It's going to have that really refined beam and the ability to throw low lumens a long distance. Now, just exemplifying this again, here is the 0.7 lumens just beaming off into the distance. You can see to the side here, up into the trees, And that's about 30 feet away. And the fact that that's actually illuminating up into the trees 30 feet away, 0.7 lumens, to me, that's just really interesting. Now a single press, this is the low mode. And now you're really able to see that A, you have that super hot spot, but B, that nice flood. Look at the amount of flood you have down below. And the fact that this is in the low mode, this is more than enough light for almost anything I need to do. This is my navigation, no problem. So low is perfect for that. And you can see this beam is sending a beam of light, I would say at this point on the low mode, a couple 100 feet away, at least 150 feet. Now here you can see in the low mode, this is further exemplifying my position on this. As you see here in the low mode, this is beaming off, I would say, about 200 feet to the furthest distance. I'm easily able to make out everything at least 100 feet. And then these trees off to the side that you can see up in here are probably about 50 feet away and illuminating those nicely. So no problem at all. And again, this is the low mode. Now keep in mind, this does have the infinite adjustability. So now as I get on this and I long press, well, this is gonna raise all the way up. And that blinks in the high mode. And look at the amount of light you have. Look at the cone, the defined cone you have. Just really lighting things up. And that overall, you can see right there, that's the flood, how big the amount of flood is that you get. So this is fully illuminating everything in this entire area, incredibly bright, and all the way up into the trees. And backing this off, now you can see, not zoomed in anymore, but that cone. You get that centralized hotspot and that nice wide flood everywhere else. This light is intense. Again, this is the high mode. Double press, that's the turbo. So here, the turbo mode, beaming all the way off, super bright, just illuminating everything completely. And so now you can see as I walk off into the distance using the Catapult Pro. This here on the Firefly mode, 0.7 lumens. Now just using it as enough light for general navigation. It's getting dark out and this does give me enough light to see. As I get off into the distance and beaming the light back towards the camera, you can see its overall effectiveness. Even at 0.7 lumens, it does actually have some punch at distance, which is pretty impressive. You definitely do not get that out of other flashlights, that's for sure. That was 0.7 lumens. This is the low mode. So again here, the low mode. Now this is definitely much more conducive to your actual navigation. This is more than enough light for most tasks. Here you can see walking off into the distance, it's doing a nice job illuminating all around me and up into the trees. This definitely has a good amount of punch at distance, and as I shine back towards the camera, you can see it does create at least a reasonable flare. That's an indication of the overall quality of the beam, that tight hotspot, and how much light is truly cast off at distance. Again, that's an indication of candela. This is the high mode. And so now the high mode, we're definitely getting some substantial performance. Here you can see much more than enough light to beam way off into the distance. And the interesting thing that you'll see as I'm walking, now you can truly make out the shape of my body. You could actually probably almost tell it's me. And as I walk off into the distance, you'll notice I am going a pretty decent distance away overall. The high mode at 1482 lumens, doing much more than a good enough job to illuminate all around me, up into the trees, and far off into the tree line. I could definitely identify anything I need, and this would actually provide me with a little bit of defense due to that overall hotspot and the intensity of the beam. This is the turbo. But this is what you're gonna see with the turbo mode. Now you'll notice in this particular case, it does look very similar to what you saw on that high mode, but almost double the lumen output. Not quite, but almost double. And that's the thing, the candela is what's doing the bulk of the work. But here you'll see on turbo, a very substantial amount of light literally illuminating everything. And as I walk off into the distance, I'm going to go a couple 100 feet away so that you can see the overall size of the beam, the intensity of the beam, but how bright it is as I flash this light back towards the camera. That's the thing, the intensity of the beam, that tight hot spot, and that candela. A ton of punch at distance, and I have walked off hundreds of feet at this point and beaming back towards the camera with significant intensity. So all in all, as I mentioned, you can definitely see that this ThruNite Catapult is one serious performing flashlight. Now, as I have mentioned, this is great for many different reasons, and you will see that this has the capability to really perform. And on that strobe, even all the way back, that strobe is serious. So this could be a great light for a number of different reasons, whether you're into security, whether you're just looking for something for a little bit of defense. If you need yourself a search and rescue light, there are so many different reasons why the ThruNite Catapult would be a perfect option. I am very impressed with this light. But here you can see, turning the corner a little bit at far distance, that 0.7 lumen firefly mode. Here, the 42 lumen low mode. Here, I am ramping it up all the way to the high mode. And here you'll see the high mode at 1482 lumens at distance. Then, moving forward with the turbo, a double press. That's the turbo, 2713 lumens. And finally, that tactical strobe at 776 lumens. Firefly. Can't really see anything off into the distance, but not a big deal. Well, that's the Firefly. What about the other modes? Single press, now into that low mode, and you can see a little bit off into the distance. Now, it's not perfect, but you can definitely see more than enough to beam well off into the trees, and that's pretty far away. What you're seeing there is, I would say, probably 200 feet that's actually being illuminated over there, and that's in the low mode. Now you'll notice the long press as I lean on the button, brightening up until it blinks. Well, boom, there, that is the high mode. More than enough light to go way out. I mean, way out. Fully illuminating everything. Perfect mirror image. I'm actually even illuminating, look at it, it's bouncing off the water and fully illuminating the trees above it. Look at that. That's crazy. Bouncing the light off the water to illuminate the trees almost equally bright. That's how impressive this light is. And then a double press, and that's the turbo. And the turbo is not like crazy much brighter than the actual like high mode, but that's a serious cone of light. Triple press, and that's your strobe, and off. One last demonstration. My camera is zoomed in as far as it will go. This is on the low mode, so again, here's the low mode, doing a pretty good job, you'll see, illuminating into those trees. And again, as I get on the side switch and I long press, brightening up to the high mode. So this is the high mode. Again, doing a wonderful job, bouncing off the trees, illuminating everything. Super bright, and then way off into the distance. And then that double press, that's the turbo. So just a crazy amount of light. I mean, that's that's a few hundred feet away, and I'm illuminating to the tippity top of the tree, and I can see it perfectly from here. So extremely well done with the ThruNite Catapult Pro. And so, all right, guys, there you have it, a look at the ThruNite Catapult Pro as I walk my way out of these dark woods. Well, what do I think? Bottom line is this. I think everybody should have a super thrower in their collection. If you're a flashlight enthusiast, you should have a super thrower in your collection. And I would be hard pressed not to recommend this as the one. If you could only have one, this is getting there for me. This is incredible. I'm blown away at just the quality of the beam, the overall performance, and what is seemingly really great battery run times. If the run times are what ThruNite really reports them as, this is going to be phenomenal. Now, of course, I haven't tested this at any length. I mean, you've seen the amount that I've used this. I opened it in front of you pretty much and took it out there, and now I just came back and we're taking a look at this. And I'm actually really, really impressed at this. This, for me, falls into many categories of should have. And I'm not going to say have to have, but I'm going to say should have. This is a great search and rescue light, phenomenally good, and I can think of people that I know that could really use this. Now, for me, I'm into inspections. I perform a huge amount of inspections, and I need good bright light, especially when it's bright outside. And I know that sounds funny, but I look at a lot of things in the daytime that really do require flashlights to see what's going on in, distant places or dark places. You need a lot of light, and this is going to do that. Now, I do have a few fundamental thoughts also on safety, security. Anybody who has a home or a place where they live, which is pretty much everybody, needs a level of security, right? So in that regard, this would do it. I mean, taking a full blast of that, 250 plus thousand candela, like straight to the eyes, you're going to be disoriented. Not to mention if you use the strobe, but I don't even think you need that. So with that, one thing that, and I understand the nature of this light and why it only has a side switch, but for me, I would love a momentary press on the tail cap. I would love the ability to long press this, get into that moonlight mode, even single press and get into that low mode, but then when you need it, that blip of the tail switch just for that sort of high-powered punch on the turbo. So all your other modes, getting around, bang, that turbo when you need it. And even if you're navigating around, you, again, single press, navigate around. Hey, what's that over there? Boom. Hit that tail switch, bam, blast a light, turbo, and as soon as you get back off of it, you're back on your standard mode. To me, that would make this just phenomenally good. But again, I kind of understand it. I understand why this doesn't necessarily have a tail switch. I just think it would be ridiculously awesome with it. But all in all, a great light. I am really impressed at this. I think ThruNite did a fantastic job. After using the Catapult Mini, I knew this was going to be good. But to be able to bounce the light off the water and illuminate the trees like equally good, just crazy, crazy cool. So again, to the people at ThruNite, thank you very much for providing this for review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.